I'm with Tara Taubman-Bassirian from Data Rainbow, who was the Privacy Hero of the Year. Tara, how did you get started in data privacy, data protection?
Well, I actually come from corporate law. I'm French and I lived in France where I worked as an advisor for corporation until I moved to Germany and then to UK. In UK, I had a period of transition of learning English. Once that was done, I became very much into internet because I always loved technology, and the internet was a great way of keeping in touch with family and friends around the world. Then I had my children who were also starting to be more active online, and this is where I started to see some issues with online privacy. I originally intended to become a representative of a US organization on child online safety in Europe, and finally decided to do a master's on internet and telecommunication law here in England and London at Queen Mary. Then my view changed a little bit, and instead of trying to avoid government censorship, I went more into privacy and data protection and awareness more than necessary law enforcement angle of child online security. And eventually I extended that into not just children, but everyone's privacy and data protection. So it's a long way to come there, yes, but it's all connected by my love of technology and internet.
Amazing. Now, things have changed a lot over the years, but particularly it's not quite a year since GDPR, but coming up for that. So how have you seen things change since that legislation?
I have seen a huge awareness in the public. Data protection directive existed prior to the regulation. The regulation strengthened some of the rights, but the principles were already there, but they were ignored. Probably because of the fear of major fines with the GDPR, people started to think, well, maybe we should comply and we should change something. GDPR also give more rights to data subject, which was the kind of people whose data is being used. Mm-hmm. So they became more aware, they started to know that there is introduction of class actions and more right into the hands of data subject. So news media also talk more about data protection. So that's been a major change with GDPR.
And we haven't seen that many enforcement actions taking place yet. So do you feel that actually it has the teeth everyone thought it was going to have?
UK Information Commissioner, which is the Data Protection Authority for the UK, has been slightly slower than other data protection authorities. The French CNIL has been more active in fining. In England, we are still waiting for more enforcement, and that unfortunately makes some organization think that, well, we've ticked the main boxes and let's wait to see what happens. And I was at the Information Commissioner's annual meeting in Manchester last week. Many organizations had the same concern that it's hard to decide organization to comply until there is more enforcement.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's hard to claim for more fines, but unfortunately this is probably what will decide organization to put the resource and the effort into compliance.
There's a lot of conversation around whether the ICO actually do a good job of informing businesses about what they expect to see. Do you think they're doing a good job at that?
There's always more to be done. Yes, it's more the media that's been talking about GDPR. ICO could have done more into education. They have produced some guidance. There are good elements on the website, but it's not sufficient. Yeah.
And do you feel the public care more about data privacy and data protection, or are they getting a bit bored with it?
I think they do care. I think people are starting to see more what's going on behind the screen. When a few years ago I was warning parents about what data Facebook collect, there were quite a few people saying, well, why do you complain? It's a free tool, it's so great, we can connect with families and friends, it's all good. But because they didn't know what's going on behind. With Cambridge Analytica, people start, I think, to be more aware of the value of the data, of data brokerage that is going on behind the scene. Facebook, other social media are free tools, but we are the product. Some would say no. But yes, they are using our data, and public is getting more aware of that.
And if we're looking forward to the coming 12 months, what do you think we will see? As much change as we have?
Well, the biggest uncertainty which is hurting the business is Brexit. Once we have a Brexit with no deal, in principle, UK becomes a country of non-adequate data protection. It's nothing defamatory. US has been a country of non-adequate data protection. They had the Privacy Shield to allow the exchange of data between Europe and the US. But UK does not have a Privacy Shield yet. So in principle, there should not be any more free flow of data between UK and the rest of the EU. That's going to be a problem. A UK organization would in principle need to have a representative in the EU if they deal with European data. Non-EU organization who had previously their representation in UK would have to have a representation in the EU. So that's going to be a major change. I keep saying in principle because this is what law says. What's going to happen is, I guess, more political than legal. Because obviously UK needs Europe as much as EU needs Europe. And there's been years of common free flow of data and people. So it's an uncertainty that needs to be clarified as soon as possible.
Brilliant. Well, I think that's really interesting for people thinking more about their data protection and their data privacy and what journey we've been on. So thank you very much for talking with us.
My great pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.